I mean, if what they're saying is false, why is he trying to hunt them down? I think the bigger picture here is that the world is sick of Hegseth and his crap. And the country is sick of his crap, and the military is sick of his crap. And I think Trump's starting to get sick of his crap. Welcome to Independent Americans. Welcome to the New York City basketball court on a beautiful summer evening. It is a time for chilling, relaxing, shooting some b-ball outside of the school. Couple of fools who are up to no good started making trouble in our neighborhood. Yeah, they're the fools in Washington, D.C. who are making a lot of trouble for everybody, especially this week. We now know Todd Blanche has been despicably confirmed by one vote in the Senate. Trump now has a new loyalist ally to help him attack our elections, his enemies, and who knows what else. The Iran war is still going on. The Iranians and Trump are just pushing propaganda that the news is regurgitating. We have more primaries coming up in the week ahead after some blockbuster ones in Michigan and Washington and other places. It was a big week. I was all over the media again. I got a special media clip episode here for you to take you into your week with a little extra. If you missed some stuff this week, this will quickly catch you up. Check out my episode with Brian Bangs. Definitely check that out. There's now a head-to-head matchup in South Dakota. The Democrat is out. We also talk about the landscape in Montana, where the Democrat has not yet dropped out, but should, Alani Bankhead, to clear the path for independent Seth Bodnar. Of course, there's a heads up now in Nebraska between independent Dan Osborne and who's he running against? Jim Risch? Yeah, I think so. I can't keep track sometimes. But anyway, it's been a wild week. I'm shooting some b-ball with the boys and friends and neighbors, and it's a time to stay vigilant. So here it is, special media episode. Subscribe, leave high ranks, do all the things. Be sure to check out independentamericans.us for merch. We got some cool merch. This thing is growing, folks, and our independent movement is meeting the moment. I'm going to keep bringing you content you can count on, light to contrast the heat, and a three-point swish from behind the arc. So from here in New York City, which is still buzzing from the Knicks and always a great place in the summer. Thanks for all the support. Here's a brand new clip episode. Stay vigilant.
Leakers or sources if you're not really denying the underpinning of what they've leaked.
Bingo. Yeah. I mean, if what they're saying is false, why is he trying to hunt them down? I think the bigger picture here is that the world is sick of Hegseth and his crap. And the country is sick of his crap, and the military is sick of his crap. And I think Trump's starting to get sick of his crap and his misstatements, his false truths, his lies, and his inability to report accurately what's happening on the ground and to include our stockpiles. So I think Pete Hegseth has always been on stable footing, supposedly, and they keep reiterating that, which means he may be soon seeing the underside of a bus pretty soon. This is not going well. And Trump is not good at taking responsibility for himself. Hegseth did not take responsibility himself. He blamed a subordinate, which is the failure of leadership again. But someone's going to have to be held accountable here, and Trump usually looks for a scapegoat.
Paul, NBC News reports citing two senior officials that U.S. commanders are picking and choosing which Iranian missiles they should just let fall and which ones to intercept. How concerning should that be for our military servicemen and women and their families who are watching all of this unfold?
Deeply. Especially considering how many have already gotten through and wounded and killed American forces. I think when it comes to Trump and Hegseth, you can't believe what they say. You have to watch what they do. And they're asking for $67 billion more. About $20 billion of that is for weapons and for munitions. We know we're using Tomahawks and ATACMS and Patriots, and we need them badly, and our allies need them badly. Meanwhile, Ukraine's getting pummeled, and the civilians there are dying by the day. Women and children are being killed, and they don't have enough munitions. So it's a great example of a misallocation of resources where Trump got way ahead of his skis. He didn't plan adequately. He didn't ask Congress for support, and he didn't ask Congress for enough money to fund what was turned out to be a very protracted war. That's
now they're asking for $67 billion more. Just
and
put a fine point on that.
And $1.5 trillion at the end of the year.
Yeah. Michael still at this desk with me. Paul, gelatinous blobs, a vivid assessment from from Senator Warren, Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm picturing a gelatinous blob. How will that hit with voters? We've heard her say things like this before in the past. There's name calling back and forth, but this one's particularly vivid. Are Republicans gelatinous blobs?
I think yes, right? I mean, great headline. And I think people will appreciate her fury and her intensity, right? And her fight. I think that's what everybody wants to see. And the truth is they've been spineless. Time and time again, they get run over. They throw their hands up. They say there's nothing we can do to stop him. And he starts doing things like invading new countries and threatening to attack Cuba. So I think we need them to be less gelatinous blob-like, right, and to grow a spine. But I think Cornyn, Tillis, and others are still the ones to watch. They have somewhat slowed him down, at least on the weaponization fund. They seem to be pushing back after he came against them in the primaries. And we have to look for places for hope and pressure. And I think those are the right places to start because we need some Republicans to break.
They are outside the scope of the statute.
And Paul, you said, finally, I'm glad someone in Washington's paying attention to this.
Yeah, this has been out there for a while. And it's wrong, right? It may not be illegal, but it's wrong. It's deeply, deeply wrong. And what a surprise. The Trump family is getting rich off government contracts. Who in the world is surprised by this? I think it's especially egregious because it has to do with Defense Department. It has to do at a time when their father is ramping up warfare around the world, asking for $1.5 trillion in additional defense funding, and we've got Americans dying in these wars. It is wrong. It's un-American. It's deeply offensive. And I think it's the kind of thing that unites a lot of people against Trump. They don't want to see him getting rich off of war. And people always get rich in war, but it's usually not the president and his family.
Do you think that the Democrats are leveraging this moment enough to speak to independents about the corruption, the grift that we have
not
been
enough.
reporting on?
It took him a while to get to this. I mean, John McCain would have been all over this. Like, this was right in his wheelhouse. I'm surprised it's taken them this long, but if I were them, I would zero in on it, especially among moderate Republicans, independents, people who care about national security, who care about conflict of interest, and care about basic norms and ethics. This episode of Independent Americans is sponsored by Kalshi. We make predictions every single day. We talk about it on this show: politics, pop culture, the economy, the biggest stories making headlines all across America and around the world. Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, lets you trade those predictions in a live market. If you haven't checked it out, now is the time, especially around politics and the elections. Will Trump buy at least part of Greenland? If you think he'll do that before 2027 and you wager $100, it'll pay out $2,019.24. If you think it's going to be before January 20th, 2029, it's 17%. You can also pick whether or not you think the Republicans or the Democrats are going to win Congress. You can pick who you think the Democratic nominee will be, who the Republican nominee. It would be great to see if there's an independent nominee. There's a lot that you can wager on, but on Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. It's fun. And if you listen to this show, you can stay ahead of the curve. So download the Kalshi app and use the code INDEPENDENT and get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade 25, which is pretty good. Kalshi, 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 trade on anything. 18 and older, restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see Kalshi.com/regulatory. Independent Americans, now is the time. Check out Kalshi.
Do you think that this is indicative of a splintering in MAGA, or is this popularity of that, more extreme messaging going to flame out? Although, as Mark mentioned, it's not necessarily extreme to some people who are just frustrated at the course of events here and are looking for a place to turn.
I think that's important. I think the civil war within MAGA is on. Democrats have their own civil war, especially coming out of Michigan now between the socialists and the moderates. Now the Republicans have their own. MAGA's not extreme and crazy enough, so they're going to create a new version, right, that's even more extreme and even more crazy and even more personality driven. But there is a market for it. Now, how big that market is, we'll see. There are a lot of disaffected MAGA-based Republicans who are upset about the forever wars, especially. Tucker Carlson's got a following. Marjorie Taylor Greene does. Massie does. They can cobble together enough to be disruptive and to slow down Trump and to break apart what has been a pretty strong coalition over time. And, you know, there's always the X factor of money. If Elon Musk decides to dump in all his money, or Putin or any other number of people dump in all their money, this could become a factor on the playing field. So do I think it's going to dominate? No, but I think it will be a playing field factor. And Carlson's probably going to run for president, or Massie's going to run for president. One of them are probably going to run for president, and they will get attention, they will get support, they will get money.
Throughout J.D. Vance, Paul, where does J.D. Vance kind of shake out in all of this? We have seen him dabble in some of these more extreme conspiracy theories. He went on a Joe Rogan show and espoused some of them. I will not repeat here. Where does this leave him and the possible influence that these figures we're talking about may have on him?
The ultimate gelatinous blob. Right? I mean, J.D.
Bringing
Vance.
it back. You just had to.
Yeah, J.D. Vance is a shapeshifter, right? He's always moved within different worlds, and I think he may find himself cut out. Right? I mean, I don't know where he's going to land. He's going to have to pick a side. But I think this movement or thing does create something else. It creates an off-ramp for defectors. If you want to turn against Trump and you want to leave and have a landing place, this becomes that landing place. And that could be some folks who call themselves independent. I like to play a game called Where is Tulsi Gabbard? Where is Tulsi Gabbard right now? She would be the next most likely person on the list to be added to that Chiron, right? And I think this could be a landing place.
Would have followed after Joe Kent.
Who want to fight against Trump but still stay close to the movement. And there is a lot of popularity in saying no forever wars and Epstein. That does have a lot of traction. If they beat that over and over again, they will get followers.
He tells me the left and right are dreams for those without a clue. And when you wake, it's time to grow. And it's not cool to believe in school, but if I can say one thing, I've seen the children of the revolution and the good trouble they can bring. He says the red and blue are dead and independent is an attitude. An island in the sea of rhetoric and archipelago. He tells me the left and right are dreams for those without a clue. And when you wake, it's time to grow.
Powered by Righteous Media.